Have you ever noticed how your priorities evolve as you grow older? The things that once seemed vital, like having a large social circle, may no longer feel as significant. In fact, as surprising as it may sound, after the age of 70, friendships may not be as necessary as they once were. Taking a closer look, you'll see that embracing independence and prioritizing your well-being can be one of the most rewarding decisions you'll ever make. In this video, we'll explore 6 reasons why friendships aren't as crucial in later years as they may have been in the past. We'll examine how your perspective, personal freedom, and even your overall health can improve when you let go of the stress of maintaining relationships that no longer serve a meaningful purpose. This isn't about loneliness. It's about reclaiming your life, free from unnecessary obligations and expectations that often come with social connections. Stay with us until the end, because shifting your perspective on friendships might not only be liberating, but could also change how you experience your later years for the better. To begin with, one of the most compelling reasons why friendships become less essential after 70 is that you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Think back to your younger days. How often were your friendships influenced by a need for validation? Whether it was impressing coworkers, staying socially active, or ensuring you were included in gatherings, there was always an undercurrent of wanting to be accepted. But at this stage in life, that pressure no longer exists. You have already built your legacy, and the opinions of others simply don't carry the same weight anymore. By this point, you've experienced enough to understand that real fulfillment comes from within, not from external approval. There's no longer a need to chase friendships for status, reputation, or social standing. You are who you are, and you don't need anyone else's approval to confirm it. Many younger people spend their lives concerned about how others perceive them, whether they're liked, respected, or admired. But by the time you reach your later years, you realize that these things do not define your worth. Your value is determined by you, and you don't need a group of people around you to affirm it. Consider someone like Harold, a man in his early 70s who spent much of his life climbing the corporate ladder. His days were filled with colleagues, acquaintances, and social interactions, but many of these relationships were based on convenience rather than genuine connection. When he retired, those friendships began to fade. At first, he felt the need to keep reaching out, attempting to maintain ties. But then it hit him. Why should he invest energy into friendships that were only sustained by workplace interactions? Why continue to pursue relationships that weren't truly meaningful? Instead of clinging to past connections out of habit, Harold shifted his focus inward. He revisited old hobbies, explored new interests, and most importantly, stopped worrying about impressing others. Without the constant effort of maintaining friendships, he felt a newfound sense of freedom. No forced conversations, no social obligations, no concern over whether people liked him. For the first time in years, he was living entirely for himself, and it felt good. That's the key takeaway. When you no longer seek validation from others, you begin to realize just how much energy was spent on friendships that didn't truly enrich your life. There's no need to prove yourself to anyone, no pressure to meet expectations, and no requirement to maintain relationships that don't bring you joy. The only person you need to answer to is yourself. Another shift that happens as you grow older is that peace becomes far more valuable than socializing. In earlier years, being around others might have felt necessary. The gatherings, conversations, and connections may have seemed like an essential part of a fulfilling life. But as time passes, you begin to appreciate something even more: peace. And not just any peace, but the kind that allows you to truly be at ease, free from drama, obligations, and the exhaustion that sometimes accompanies social interactions. Friendships, even good ones, often require effort. There are calls to return, invitations to accept, and unspoken expectations to maintain contact. It's not that friendships are inherently negative, but at a certain point, they can feel like more work than they're worth. The truth is, You don't have to spend your time trying to keep up with others. You don't have to feel obligated to be available simply because someone expects you to be. At this stage in life, your time is entirely your own, and you have the freedom to choose how to spend it. Take Margaret, for example. At 74, she once had a large social circle, frequently attending lunches, group calls, and holiday gatherings. Her calendar was always filled with social engagements, but over time, she realized many of these interactions had become draining rather than fulfilling. The conversations felt repetitive, the same stories told again and again. Some friends only reached out to complain, while others seemed more interested in gossip than meaningful discussions. What once felt like a source of joy had become an obligation she no longer enjoyed. One day, Margaret made a decision. She stopped feeling guilty for saying no to invitations she wasn't excited about. She let go of the need to respond to every message right away, and instead, she embraced the quiet. With the time she once spent managing friendships, she began enjoying solo walks, immersing herself in nature, and finally reading the books she had put off for years. Most importantly, she discovered that solitude wasn't the same as loneliness. It was peaceful. And that's the beauty of this stage in life. You are no longer bound by the need to fill your days with constant activity or conversation just to feel connected. You can enjoy your own company without requiring external validation. You can choose tranquility over social pressure, calm over chaos. If you've ever felt guilty about stepping back from social obligations, remember this: you're not withdrawing from life. You're simply embracing a new kind of fulfillment, one that comes from within. And that kind of peace, it only gets better with age. If you're watching this, take a moment to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any new videos. Now, let's continue. As we move through life, one of the toughest truths we encounter is that not everyone who enters our lives is meant to stay. With time, we see friendships evolve. Some grow stronger, while others fade away. The people we once considered close may no longer be part of our journey, and that's okay. By the time you reach 70, you begin to understand that having fewer friendships isn't a loss. It's a relief. With fewer expectations comes fewer disappointments. Friendships, no matter how deep, often come with responsibilities. Checking in, being present, offering support. But what happens when those efforts go unreciprocated? Frustration builds, and relationships begin to feel one-sided. You call, but they don't return your calls. You make time, but they always seem too busy. And after years of giving without receiving, you start to wonder, is this really worth it? Take William, for instance. At 78, he has watched friendships come and go. Some relationships ended naturally, while others disappeared because he was always the one making the effort. People he had known for decades suddenly seemed preoccupied or uninterested. Initially, it hurt. He questioned himself, wondering what had changed. But over time, he realized he was no longer willing to carry the burden of relationships that weren't mutual. When you release the notion that you need a wide circle of friends, you free yourself from the stress of unmet expectations. You stop feeling let down when someone forgets to call. Instead, you learn to cherish the most important connection in your life, your own. This doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means prioritizing meaningful relationships over superficial ones. Whether it's a lifelong friend, a family member, or simply a deeper connection with yourself, those are the bonds that truly matter. So, if you've ever felt that friendships have brought you more stress than joy, remind yourself that it's okay to step back. It's okay to choose simplicity over complexity, peace over frustration. You don't need a long list of friends to be content. What you need is the wisdom to recognize who truly values you and to let go of those who don't. As you grow older, something becomes clear. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. In your younger years, it may have felt like time was limitless. always more hours to spend with friends, more chances to nurture relationships, more energy to keep up. But by 70, your perspective shifts. Every moment becomes precious, and you start making intentional choices about how you spend your days. Friendships, as fulfilling as they can be, require time and energy. Phone calls, visits, maintaining social connections, these things demand effort. But are all of them truly worth it? Many friendships remain out of habit rather than genuine fulfillment. At this stage in life, you have the right to ask yourself, is this relationship adding to my happiness, or is it just another obligation? Consider Richard, a man in his early 80s. He once had a busy social life filled with gatherings, dinners, and endless conversations. But over time, he began to feel differently. What once brought him joy started to feel draining. The small talk, the gossip, the repeated complaints. He realized he no longer wanted to spend his time this way. One day, while sitting at a lunch gathering he didn't enjoy, he had an epiphany. He had the power to say no. So, he started choosing differently. Instead of accepting every invitation out of politeness, he prioritized what truly made him happy. He spent his time reading, taking long walks, and learning new things. The best part? He never felt lonely. In fact, he felt more at peace than ever because he was doing things that genuinely enriched his life. That's the lesson. When you let go of friendships that no longer serve you, you gain something far greater: time for yourself, time to engage in things you love, to enjoy life at your own pace, to nurture your own happiness. If you ever find yourself wondering whether certain friendships are worth keeping, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because at this stage, your time belongs to you. You have earned the right to spend it exactly as you choose. If you're still watching and these insights resonate with you, comment below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend doing so. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. Now, let's move forward. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is the belief that happiness depends on the number of people in your life. But as you grow older, you begin to realize that the most important companionship is the one you build with yourself. By 70, you've spent decades learning, growing, and evolving. You understand yourself better than anyone else ever could. And with that self-awareness comes an incredible realization: you are enough. For much of our lives, we are taught to seek companionship externally. We are told that being social is the key to happiness, that loneliness is something to be feared. But there is a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Some of the most content individuals in their later years have embraced solitude, not as isolation, but as an opportunity to enjoy their own company. Instead of chasing external validation, they find joy in quiet moments, in simple pleasures, in personal growth. They replace empty social interactions with meaningful experiences. They nurture their own minds and souls rather than relying on others to fill the void. And in doing so, they discover a deeper, more enduring sense of fulfillment. So if you ever feel pressured to maintain relationships just for the sake of having company, remind yourself of this. True companionship starts from within. The strongest, most reliable connection you will ever have is the one with yourself. And once you embrace that, you realize you were never really alone to begin with. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We appreciate your support in helping us continue to create content that brings value to your life. Imagine reaching a stage in life where every moment is an opportunity for self-discovery, reflection, and inner peace. Take Eleanor, for example. At 76, she always believed that surrounding herself with people was the key to happiness. Her days were filled with phone calls, social gatherings, and checking in on friends. Yet, something felt off. Despite her active social life, she often felt drained rather than uplifted. It was as if her connections had become more of a routine than a source of genuine joy. She found herself constantly adjusting to fit in, keeping up with conversations that no longer interested her, and fulfilling obligations simply to avoid feeling left out. Then one day, she decided to pause. Instead of filling her days with external noise, she chose to spend time with herself, not in loneliness, but in companionship with her own thoughts. She started taking long walks alone, without the need to call anyone for company. She went to cafes, immersing herself in a book instead of engaging in small talk. Evenings became a time of reflection rather than an exhausting effort to maintain social ties. To her surprise, she felt more at peace, lighter, and genuinely happy. She realized something profound. True companionship isn't about how many people surround you. It's about how comfortable you are in your own presence. This is what many people overlook. The real sense of fulfillment doesn't come from constant interaction, but from embracing solitude without fear. When you stop depending on others for validation or entertainment, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. You are no longer controlled by social obligations or the need to seek approval. Instead, you become your own source of wisdom, joy, and fulfillment. And the beauty of it? When you genuinely enjoy your own company, you start attracting relationships that feel effortless. Instead of chasing after friendships that no longer serve you, you naturally connect with people who respect your space, align with your values, and bring tranquility rather than pressure. So, if you've ever worried that stepping back from social circles might leave you lonely, think again. The best company you could ever ask for is already with you. And when you truly embrace that, you'll realize that you were never really alone. Letting go can be one of the most powerful things you do as you grow older. It means releasing the pressure to hold on to friendships that no longer add value to your life. It means understanding that your worth isn't defined by your social circle. Most importantly, it means recognizing that solitude does not equal loneliness. Many people continue maintaining friendships simply out of habit. They attend gatherings they no longer enjoy, answer calls out of obligation, and keep up appearances just because they always have. But what if you didn't have to? What if you gave yourself the freedom to focus on the things that bring you genuine happiness rather than relationships that feel like work? Consider James, a man in his late 70s. For years, he believed that staying socially active was essential to aging well. He made the effort to keep in touch with friends, even when those connections had lost their depth. He packed his schedule with social events, believing that busyness equaled fulfillment. But deep down, he wasn't enjoying it. Conversations felt repetitive, gatherings seemed like empty routines, and he found himself more exhausted than enriched. Then one day, he made a change. He stopped forcing friendships that no longer felt meaningful. Instead, he started investing time in things that truly mattered to him. He spent more time outdoors, focused on his health, and picked up new interests. Most importantly, he embraced the freedom that came with living life on his own terms. And in doing so, he discovered something incredible. He felt lighter, more content, and at peace in a way he never had before. This is the essence of letting go. It doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means creating space for what truly fulfills you. It means recognizing that your happiness is not determined by how many people you have around you, but by how aligned you are with the life you genuinely want to live. When you embrace this mindset, you stop worrying about maintaining friendships out of habit and start focusing on what brings you true joy. Imagine waking up to a quiet morning, savoring the peacefulness instead of checking your phone for messages. Imagine engaging in a hobby without distraction, feeling deeply connected to yourself. Imagine experiencing contentment simply from being present in the moment. These are the things that make life truly fulfilling, and they have nothing to do with how many social engagements you have lined up. So, If you've ever felt like you should be doing more to maintain friendships, ask yourself this: is it truly adding to my happiness? Or am I holding on out of routine? Because once you give yourself permission to let go, life becomes simpler, more peaceful, and infinitely more rewarding. If you're still watching and these insights resonate with you, leave a comment below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider joining our community by hitting the subscribe button and turning on notifications. Your support allows us to continue creating meaningful content to inspire and guide you. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed today. The idea that you don't need friends after a certain age isn't about shutting people out. It's about embracing a new kind of freedom. It's about letting go of unnecessary obligations, choosing peace over pressure, and prioritizing the life that truly brings you joy. Think about what resonated with you the most. Maybe you've already started stepping away from friendships that no longer serve you. Maybe you've realized how much you enjoy your own company when you allow yourself the space to. Or maybe this video has given you a fresh perspective on why it's okay to put yourself first. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one insight you're taking away from this. Your thoughts matter, and reading your comments is a huge source of encouragement for us. If you found this video valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us continue creating content that supports and uplifts you. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Stay inspired, stay at peace, and remember, your happiness starts with you.